Hey guys, it's Karen, and I'm here with Kristi Wilson, wife of Jeremy Wilson. Hi, Kristi.
Hi, Karen.
How are you?
Good. Good.
Okay, so thank you so much for meeting with me. I'm so excited that I get to chat with you, and I've just always wanted to interview the spouses and just like the real MVPs of the artist team. And I'm just so interested in getting some insight on your life and just all the travel and amazing things that both you and Jeremy have done. So, what's your background? How did you guys meet? What do you have in common? All of that.
Yeah, well, we go all the way back to high school to computer programming class. I'm actually a Wilson before I became a Wilson. Okay. So he was J. Wilson, I was K. Wilson. They put us next to us, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
Is that the right expression? It kind of sounds like we're history. We're out of here. We're done. That's not what I mean. The rest. Do I need to do that again?
No, it's fine. That's really great.
So we met in high school. We sat next to each other. We ended up getting separated because we talked so much. But we ended up going to prom together, and we met our senior year of high school, and by then we had already decided we were going to college.
Okay.
And I was also a music major. I majored in vocal performance and music composition, and so I decided to go to Belmont University in Nashville, which is just a great place for that. Mm-hmm. And Jeremy had already decided to go to the University of Knoxville, so we decided to just go to different colleges, do the long distance relationship, and whoever graduated first, that's when we would get married. And I was the winner, so got out of there first, and we got married in 2004.
Okay.
And yeah, so we've been married for almost 14 years.
That's awesome. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell me about your kids.
Yeah, we have 3 kids. We have Eli, who's 8, and just way too smart for his own good, and Grant, who's 4, and Anna, who is 1. And she has completed our little family. Yeah. We're happy to have that little girl addition.
Yeah.
And they're just precious.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me what it was like to live in Indiana. I mean, you guys were not newlyweds, but you were still young and moved to a different country, new language. I mean, both of you left Tennessee, across the seas, and all of that. Like, how was that experience? And the pressure of that orchestra, and I'm sure the financial change, like everything. How was all of that?
Wow, I mean, it was so incredibly scary. I had never been out of the country before. Oh, wow. I had to apply for my passport just for us to go to his audition. And since he was in grad school, he never thought in a million years that he would ever get it. Now me, knowing my husband, I had no doubt that he was going to win this audition because I just knew him. I knew his dedication. I knew his talent. I knew that he was absolutely working his tail off to prepare for it, doing everything that he could. And so I knew when he told me that we were going to this audition, I was like, yeah, we're moving to Austria. That's what I told him. I told him that. One night I just looked over and I was like, we're moving to Austria, right? And he was like, no, there's no way. I was like, yeah, we are. But we went to the audition. We were just making a trip out of it, and that was awesome. But yeah, I remember pacing in the hotel room. Of course, back then, we couldn't use our cell phones or anything like that over there, and it just wouldn't work. So I was just waiting in the hotel to hear, and he came in and he said, so you want to move to Austria?
Aww.
And I remember we had planned a fancy dinner on the last day to kind of either celebrate or just celebrate the fact that we got to come or whatever, and we just sat. It was in a tower that rotated above the city, and we just sat there like looking down like, oh wow, we gotta move overseas, what are we gonna do? And so once we got over the initial shock, it was an incredible experience. It was one of the most difficult and also most rewarding things we've ever done in our life. I went from being to no countries besides the U.S. to almost 40 countries, and being exposed to a new language and new people. Being from the South, all I knew was the South. And so Vienna is a United Nations city. So just being exposed to people from all over the world, it was incredibly eye-opening and an experience that I wouldn't trade. Yeah. It was amazing.
That's incredible. I love that. I didn't even think about, the stress of waiting to hear back and, like in the audition and just like not knowing, like that's incredible. Was your oldest son born there or?
Yes, he was. We lived there about a year.
Okay.
When I got pregnant with him, and honestly, it was wonderful because legally I was not even allowed to work in Austria, and I had gone from working full-time to not working at all. And so Eli, in a lot of ways, gave me a little bit of purpose living overseas.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel quite so isolated.
Sure.
Once I had this little person in my life to pour into. And that it's really neat that, he's been to, I think, 25 countries now. And he has absolutely traveled the world. And so that's a wonderful experience for him as well.
So when Jeremy decided to retire, at age 29 from the VNFL, no big deal, and come back to Nashville, like I'm sure you were super ecstatic. And how was that transition moving from, overseas, super cultured city, all the way back, to the South and your family and things like that? Like, how was that for you?
In a lot of ways it was a huge relief to hear the words, "We're moving back home."
Yeah.
Because even when he said that he was going to start looking for opportunities in the U.S., obviously it's not like you're just like, trombone positions in this state. You have to audition for whatever comes up, obviously. And to hear that something was not only in the Southeast, but in our actual state, only an hour away from all of our family, that was pretty incredible to us.
Yeah.
And not only that, it was an amazing school.
Sure.
That was, it was really up and coming as far as the music program goes, and there was just lots of opportunity there. But moving back, it's interesting. It was a culture shock. I remember coming back and going to the grocery store, and when in Vienna, you would have like a little section of potato chips, like this, a little section of cereals. You had like 5 different brands, right?
Sure.
And then we come over here and it's an entire aisle of just Pringles, like there's just like one kind of potato chip. It was really overwhelming. There was so much here that was just bigger and more, and going back to that, I remember getting a little overwhelmed when we would go to out in public, like festivals and stuff like that. It's just different over here. We Americans like to be a little bit noisy, and so yes, it was a little bit of a reverse culture shock, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
I remember driving through Starbucks and German just like randomly coming out. Like I would, I would like a pumpkin spice latte mit Schlag, and they're like, I'm sorry, what? You want me to spit in your cup? What? It was just like randomly come out like that.
Sure.
But it has been wonderful moving back to this area. In the capacity of like my husband having a job here, because when we lived in Tennessee before, he was still a student, and so actually being able to plant roots, and buy our forever house, like this is where we're planning on to like just staying, because I'm not moving again. I don't know about him. And it's like this is where we're gonna stay as a family and grow as a family, and so that's been really nice to have in our marriage.
Amazing. As the Trombone Symposium's MVP, what are your thoughts on this year's symposium?
I feel like it's amazing to see my husband's hard work from the past few months just come to fruition. To see that what he's doing and what he's teaching and what he's trying to get out there is actually important to people, and that people want to come and hear it and see it, and that they're having a great time seeing all of this and seeing his hard work.
That's awesome. So what is your favorite part about being a part of these trombone things, since I'm sure you've been to a million of them?
Mainly just seeing that my husband's a rock star.
Yeah.
I mean, I love seeing how much he's respected.
Yeah.
And you know, I see him so much as just a husband and a father. To see him in his element, doing his thing, it's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. So, Kristi, what are you doing at the symposium?
I'm here as moral support.
Okay.
First and foremost. I'm here just working, just helping with registration and stuff like that, directing people, trying to add a little bit of flavor that's not trombonist to the symposium, and just being here for Jeremy. I mean, I'm also excited about the concert.
Yeah.
Getting to hear him play, and Ian, and yeah.
So you're a photographer. How do you like photographing trombonists?
Yeah, I'm used to photographing just people outside and my own kids. So what's different with the trombonist is you add a different focal point. It's not just the person, but now you're adding their instrument along with it. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's also really cool to be able to do that.
So I'm personally really inspired by your disability, believe it or not, and I would just love for you to share, you know, what it's like, and you know, the fact that you pursued a composition and vocal degree, and you were a worship leader and things like that.
So I'm 80% deaf, and I lip read. And I've had 10 years of speech therapy and lip reading so then I can be a part of society. And I started losing my hearing when I was 11 years old, and it was due to hearing damage. I was actually a stock car driver.
Very cool.
Which is, I know, a little bit random. Believe it or not, like you can drive race cars at any age as long as your parents sign away your life, you know. So I started doing that, didn't wear proper hearing protection, so I started losing my hearing. So I was in hearing aids by the time I was 14, and the hearing just steadily continued to get worse all the way up until I was about 20 years old when it finally stabilized at around 80% loss. And, you know, it was extremely hard. Obviously, learning about that as a small child and having to readjust what I thought my future was going to look like.
Sure.
And, you know, I was a cheerleader. Having to pull back my hair up in a ponytail and kids make fun of my hearing aids.
Yeah.
You know, that was hard to deal with as a teenager.
Sure.
But now, as an adult, I've come to terms with it. This is just part of who I am. And you either choose to let something stop you, or you use it as a challenge, as an obstacle to make you better.
Yeah.
And so it had always been my dream to pursue a degree in the worship arts in church music, and so I just made it my goal to not let it stop me, and I worked really hard. I worked with some coaches who, even though they had never dealt with a deaf student before, they still helped me because I had to go by how things feel. Mm-hmm. And thankfully I married a brass player. They're pretty loud, so I can hear him just fine. Yeah. But yeah, it was, honestly, I will say my husband was, even though we didn't go to the same schools, if it hadn't have been for his help, I would have never made it through my degree. I remember him just sitting there quizzing me in ear training and music theory and helping me through ways. I mean, you could see his role as an educator coming out even then. He was determined to find ways to help me work around this. Yeah. To where I could make it work for me. And we did it, and yeah, I was a worship leader for several years after graduation, pretty much up until the time I had Eli, and then I really wanted to stay home with my kiddos.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I just want to ask you a couple of random questions, just so we can get to know you even better. So what is your favorite food?
Chocolate, definitely. But what kind of chocolate thing? I'm really drawn to ooey gooey desserts.
Okay.
Like really soft, not the edge of brownies. I mean, it's just, that's where evilness is, on the edge of brownies, like the center part. I will be the person that will come and like cut out a square right in the middle of brownies.
Okay.
And also like ooey gooey cookies, all those kinds of things.
Pies.
Yeah, I like pie. I like pies.
Okay. Oh, amazing. What is your favorite part about living in Nashville?
Wow. Well, I like that they speak English. But, you know, I came to school here. I mean, this is where I went to college. And one of the things even, I mean, you know, not that it was that long ago when I went to college, but even throughout the growth, you know, Nashville has always remained true to the fact that it is Music City.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you walk down the road and pretty much every person you run into is in the music industry in some way.
Sure.
And I think that is so incredible. You know, when you talk about, you know, doing this or that, and they're like, oh yeah, I know that person, or yeah, we did a session together, you know, way back when, you know. So I just think that's really neat. To go from one music city to another music city.
That is amazing. If you could have a different career choice, what would you have studied or done or pursued?
I probably, if I could go back, I would, and do it differently. Like if I didn't have any kind of musical inclination whatsoever, I think I would study something in art.
Okay.
Photography, visual arts. I used to love to paint and draw and all that kind of stuff. So I would definitely pursue something art related. Right now I'm more into photography than anything.
What is your favorite city you've traveled to?
My favorite city? Okay. That's hard because I had favorite cities for food. I had favorite cities for like the coolness of the cities. And then also some that with just natural beauty. So, definitely somewhere in like Paris or in Italy for food.
Okay.
Because it's just, we went to this really tiny town in Italy. I actually found out it was in the Twilight series books.
Oh.
Like where like the head of the vampires live. Volterra. We went to this tiny town called Volterra, and I was like, why are there shirts of Twilight all around here? Yeah, that's where the vampires live. But the most amazing pasta I've ever had. So probably that, and then Paris for food as well. I loved just about everywhere we visited in Spain.
Okay.
I mean, we've been to Barcelona and Valencia.
Yes.
All these different places. I loved the people and all that. And I loved Australia for, I mean, just really unique landscapes, things that we'd never seen, and wildlife too. Got to hold a koala. Pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Long flight, I'm sure.
Yes. I don't think I'd ever make that trip with kids.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Well, thanks for chatting with me, Kristi. You guys, you need to check out her work and her kids. She's all over Jeremy's stuff. And thanks so much for watching.